Energy markets began to tighten in 2021 because of a variety of factors, including the extraordinarily rapid economic rebound following the pandemic. But the situation escalated dramatically into a full-blown global energy crisis following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. The price of natural gas reached record highs, and as a result, so did electricity in some markets. Oil prices hit their highest level since 2008. Higher energy prices have contributed to painfully high inflation, pushed families into poverty, forced some factories to curtail output or even shut down, and slowed economic growth to the point that some countries are heading towards severe recession, whose gas supply is uniquely vulnerable because of its historic reliance on Russia, could face gas rationing this winter, while many emerging economies are seeing sharply higher energy import bills and fuel shortages. There are important differences. Today's crisis involves all fossil fuels, while the 1970s price shocks were largely limited to oil at a time when the global economy was much more dependent on oil and less dependent on gas. The entire world economy is much more interlinked than it was 50 years ago, magnifying the impact. That's why we can refer to this as the first truly global energy crisis. Some gas-intensive manufacturing plants in Europe have curtailed output because they can't afford to keep operating, while in China some have simply had their power supply cut. In emerging and developing economies, where the share of household budgets spent on energy and food is already large, higher energy bills have increased extreme poverty and set back progress towards achieving universal and affordable energy access. Even in advanced economies, rising prices have impacted vulnerable households and caused significant economic, social, and political strains. Energy prices have been rising since 2021 because of the rapid economic recovery, weather conditions in various parts of the world, maintenance work that had been delayed by the pandemic, and earlier decisions by oil and gas companies and exporting countries to reduce investments. Russia began withholding gas supplies to Europe in 2021, months ahead of its invasion of Ukraine. All that led to already tight supplies. Russia's attack on Ukraine greatly exacerbated the situation. The United States and the EU imposed a series of sanctions on Russia, and many European countries declared their intention to phase out Russian gas imports completely. Meanwhile, Russia has increasingly curtailed or even turned off its export pipelines. Russia is by far the world's largest exporter of fossil fuels, and a particularly important supplier to Europe. In 2021, a quarter of all energy consumed in the EU came from Russia. Oil prices also initially soared as international trade routes were reconfigured after the United States, many European countries, and some of their Asian allies said they would no longer buy Russian oil. Some shippers have declined to carry Russian oil because of sanctions and insurance risk. Many large oil producers were unable to boost supply to meet rising demand, even with the incentive of sky-high prices, because of a lack of investment in recent years. While prices have come down from their peaks, the outlook is uncertain, with new rounds of European sanctions on Russia kicking in later this year. The energy crisis is the concern that the world's demands on the limited natural resources that are used to power industrial society are diminishing as the demand rises. These natural resources are in limited supply. While they do occur naturally, it can take hundreds of thousands of years to replenish the stores. Governments and concerned individuals are working together to make the use of renewable resources a priority and to lessen the irresponsible use of natural supplies through increased conservation. The energy crisis is a broad and complex topic. Most people don't feel connected to its reality unless the price of gas at the pump goes up or there are lines at the gas station. The energy crisis is something that is ongoing and getting worse, despite many efforts. The reason for this is that there is not a broad understanding of the complex causes and solutions for the energy crises that will allow for an effort to happen that will resolve it. It would be easy to point the finger at one practice or industry and lay the blame for the entire energy crisis at their door, but that would be a very naive and unrealistic interpretation of the cause of the crisis. Number 1. Overconsumption. The energy crisis is a result of many different strains on our natural resources, not just one. There is a strain on fossil fuels such as oil, gas, and coal due to overconsumption, which then, in turn, can put a strain on our water and oxygen resources by causing pollution. Number 2. Overpopulation. Another cause of the crisis has been a steady increase in the world's population and its demands for fuel and products. No matter what type of food or products you choose to use, from fair trade and organic to those made from petroleum products in a sweatshop, not one of them is made or transported without a significant drain on our energy resources. Number 3. Poor infrastructure. Aging infrastructure of power generating equipment is yet another reason for energy shortage. Most of the energy-producing firms keep on using outdated equipment that restricts the production of energy. It is the responsibility of utilities to keep on upgrading the infrastructure and set a high standard of performance. Number 4. Unexplored renewable energy options. Renewable energy still remains unused in most of the countries. Most of the energy comes from non-renewable sources like coal. It, therefore, remains the top choice to produce energy. Unless we give renewable energy a serious thought, the problem of energy crisis cannot be solved. Renewable energy sources can reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and also helps to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Number 5. Delay in commissioning of power plants. In a few countries, there is a significant delay in the commissioning of new power plants that can fill the gap between demand and supply of energy. The result is that old plants come under huge stress to meet the daily demand for power. When supply doesn't match demand, it results in load shedding and breakdown. Number 6. Wastage of energy. In most parts of the world, people do not realize the importance of conserving energy. It is only limited to books, the internet, newspaper ads, lip service, and seminars. Unless we give it a serious thought, things are not going to change anytime sooner. Simple things like switching off fans and lights when not in use, using maximum daylight, walking instead of driving for short distances, using CFL instead of traditional bulbs, proper insulation for leakage of energy can go a long way in saving energy. Number 7. Major accidents and natural calamities. Major accidents like pipeline burst and natural calamities like the eruption of volcanoes, floods, earthquakes can also cause interruptions to energy supplies. The huge gap between supply and demand for energy can raise the price of essential items, which can give rise to inflation. Number 8. Wars and attacks. Wars between countries can also hamper the supply of energy, especially if it happens in Middle East countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, UAE, or Qatar. That's what happened during the 1990 Gulf War, when the price of oil reached its peak, causing global shortages and created major problems for energy consumers. Number 9. Environmental effects. Energy is produced by the burning of non-renewable fossil fuels. This does not only affect the global resources of fossil fuels, but it also affects the environment. The burning of fossil fuels releases greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and others. Number 10. Miscellaneous factors. Tax hikes, strikes, military coup, political events, severe hot summers or cold winters can cause a sudden increase in demand for energy and can choke supply. A strike by trade unions in an oil-producing firm can cause an energy crisis. These gases create a blanket on the Earth's surface, which prevents the release of the short rays of the sun by night. Thus, the energy crisis facilitates making the Earth a warmer place by promoting global warming. There is energy crisis around the world, but many of the possible solutions are already in place today, but they have not been widely adopted. Number 1. Move towards renewable resources. The best possible solution is to reduce the world's dependence on non-renewable resources and to improve overall conservation efforts. Much of the industrial age was created using fossil fuels, but there is also known technology that uses other types of renewable energy such as steam, solar, and wind. The major concern isn't so much that we will run out of gas or oil, but that the use of coal is going to continue to pollute the atmosphere and destroy other natural resources in the process of mining the coal that it is to be replaced as an energy source. Number 2. Buy energy-efficient products. Replace traditional bulbs with CFLs and LEDs. They use fewer watts of electricity and last longer. If millions of people across the globe use LEDs and CFLs for residential and commercial purposes, the demand for energy can go down, and an energy crisis can be averted. Number 3. Lighting controls. There are a number of new technologies out there that make lighting controls that much more interesting, and they help to save a lot of energy and cash in the long run. Preset lighting controls, slide lighting, touch dimmers, integrated lighting controls are few of the lighting controls that can help to conserve energy and reduce overall lighting costs. Number 4. Easier grid access. People who use different options to generate power must be given permission to plug into the grid and getting credit for the power you feed into it. The hassles of getting credit for supplying surplus power back into the grid should be removed. Apart from that, subsidy on solar panels should be given to encourage more people to explore renewable options. This was all for today. I hope you liked this video. Stay tuned for watching more videos like this. And don't forget to share and subscribe my channel.